Hello and welcome to another edition of What's the Plan, a show where we bring in community leaders to talk about their plans for maintaining, operating, and improving the quality of life in our town of Plymouth and in the region around us. Today we have Director of DPW, Jonathan Bader, or as he likes to be called, JB, who's going to talk to us a little bit about his role and the role of the Department of Public Works in the ongoing development improvements in the town of Plymouth, a town with incredible infrastructural complexities and a lot of open vacant land, which his work has a high impact on, both positively and negatively. Hey JB, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Mark. How you doing?
Good. The first thing I think I want to do, because you and I talk about this all the time, is you have kind of a unique position.
Agreed.
Not that a director of DPW is so unique in of itself, but it's the town that you work in. And I think one of the things that I would like the folks to understand is being a DPW director in Plymouth is not like being a DPW director in Brockton or Abington, which are towns that are largely fully built out. You know that I think of you as another planner in town, because every time you improve infrastructure, you change the playing field on the ability for use of land, both good and sometimes not so good. So can you talk to me a little bit about your perspectives on this? Because I think you're a unique character when it comes to this. I think you understand it as well as anybody.
Yeah, and again, Mark, thanks for having me, okay? Yeah, I think Plymouth Public Works is definitely unique. It is a challenge. You know, it is the largest land-wise municipality in the Commonwealth. So that represents its own uniqueness. In terms of, you know, what we do and how we do it, our number one goal is to be effective. But, you know, in terms of sustaining the community, Public Works is an extremely important element on, you know, in terms of the municipality goes as a whole. I think that the questions you just brought up and the circumstances are unique in Plymouth. You know, our water, our sewer, our infrastructure in terms of, you know, current and future uses is an extremely important issue, and we have to keep open lines of communications to make sure we're doing what's proper for the benefit of everybody. Some of the bigger picture items I think that we talk about are water, sewer, drain, and roads. And that has a huge impact on development. So I think that working together in terms of being proactive, so we know what may be coming and how to handle that, is something we need to work on and address.
Well, you know, normally when I think people think of DPWs, it's an ops and maintenance operation. You have infrastructure, you have a town, you have pipes, you have roads, you have all those things, which, as we all know, you need to fix the potholes. You need, you know, the ongoing. How do we keep the town operating safely and efficiently? But in Plymouth, there's another piece. You wear a little planning hat, because our existing infrastructure, public works infrastructure, does not cover a large segment of the town. A lot of our town does not have standard public works infrastructure or standard public works services, which complicate your role.
You can say a lot of it is substandard, Mark. And, you know, in terms of maintenance, it's very important to me and our group at the DPW to provide that service in terms of street sweeping, you know, fixing roads, brush cutting, drainage maintenance, all those things that people expect as part of their services. But the thing I think we're focusing on today is that next level in terms of planning for services. You know, for water, we have about 200 miles of water main. Plymouth's water system is probably one of the most detailed in the area. We have 6 pressure zones. We store about 11 million gallons of water. On the sewer side, we have about 60 miles of gravity sewer. We have about 10 miles of force main. We have 6 lift stations. Service area, you know, is probably about a third of the town on the sewer side. Roads, one of the largest road networks in the Commonwealth. Again, we have about 410 miles of road. It's about split equally, 200 accepted, 200 not accepted. Of those miles, we have about 130 that are gravel roads. So there is a tremendous amount of maintenance with that and administrative oversight in terms of managing that. So yes, it definitely is service, maintenance, and planning.
Real quickly, you brought up a term, accepted and unaccepted.
Yes.
Can you explain to the folks what that means?
Be happy to, because it comes up a lot in
It
conversation.
sure does.
Yeah, accepted roads are those that have been accepted by the Plymouth Town Meeting, and we get funding annually from the state, which is referred to Mass General Law Chapter 90. And that funding comes back, and that allows us to maintain what we have. In Plymouth, we also have a number of unaccepted roads. Some may refer those to private roads. There is a little bit of difference, but we're just going to refer to them as unaccepted because that is the legal terminology. Of those unaccepted roads, we don't have a finance mechanism to repair those until recently. A couple of years ago, town meeting enacted legislation. They gave Plymouth a special act which allows us to spend public dollars on private roads. Last year was the first year since I've started working here in which we've had the financial measures to actually start maintaining these. Given the complexity of Plymouth, the amount of roads, Mark, we need the measures to fix these roads, which town meeting has given us. But the general difference is unaccepted. We don't get state dollars to maintain those. Accepted, we do.
The distinction between unaccepted and private, as I understand it, is an unaccepted road is a publicly traveled way without restriction. Mm-hmm. A private road is a road owned and maintained by a private entity or entities, a neighborhood, where they own it, they restrict access, gated communities is the most obvious.
Correct. The unaccepted roads technically haven't been laid out and accepted by the town.
That's exactly right. But they still are roads of public use.
Yeah, of course.
They're not restricted use.
That's correct.
Let's jump because I could have you on for 10 weeks straight and we still wouldn't solve cover all that you talk about.
But that's why we're here, Mike. We're here to solve all the town's problems.
That's right. In about 20 minutes.
We can do it. I know we can.
Let's talk a little bit about a program which I know you invested a lot of time and effort in terms of proposals, counter proposals, reach out, and actual implementation, mm-hmm. and that is our solid waste issue, the new curbside, which I think, as being a person who went from going to the transfer stations and the dumps to going to curbside, I think aside from some minor glitches which happen in any transition, I thought that the transition was incredibly smooth, and even more so at a time when you have been battling climate conditions that could complicate the rollout of a new program.
And they definitely did. There were a couple of hiccups when we rolled out the curbside. But as of today, Mark, we are very pleased. It's going very successfully. It's moving forward successfully, should I say. We have about 5,300 people on the curbside plan. It's increasing by about 10 per week, close to a dozen, which is very good. It was a great experience. From when I got here to what we have now in terms of solid waste. We have what I refer to a great comprehensive solid waste management plan right now. I think we offer great service at efficient costs. We've cleaned up a lot of issues that the town had internally within the solid waste division. And again, for the residents that may not know, we offer a service where they can go to a single transfer station, which is Manomet. And that station has been fully rebuilt, reconstructed to provide services. And we offer a curbside program. It has evolved throughout all our meetings in which we've engaged the residents of this town to see what they wanted, see how they felt about the program, and see what their desires were. And in the end, we came up with a great plan that was approved by town meeting. July 1st of this past year, we went pay-as-you-throw at the 3 transfer stations. January, we condensed those 3 to 1, which is Manomet. And the curbside started January 1st. If we could do it again, we wouldn't have started curbside on January 1st because that was the split year. I think that brought confusion in itself. And as you know, we started on a holiday. And then a week later, we had that first blizzard. So we had to provide with a delay. But in the end, it's working out, and we are very pleased.
One of the things that, as an environmental consultant, I look at these from the environmental aspect, and I understand I've been working with solid waste in various capacities. I was involved in closing working on landfill closures way back when. And I think the single most important piece of the curbside was single stream recycling.
Absolutely.
Because people want to recycle, but they don't want to be the recycling company. When you have to dedicate a room in your house to various bins for plastic, metal, paper, mixed paper, corrugated cardboard, now it's very easy. We were paying a big rate then.
Correct.
We're paying a big rate now, but it makes it more convenient. I will tell you, as a person who is a conservationist, I mean, just having the single stream has been so much easier that without even thinking about it, my volumes have gone down. As a matter of fact, I have 3 people living in my house, my wife and my oldest daughter, and we have gone, in the beginning we were going every week on the trash pickup. Now, my trash barrel only goes out, and obviously it's the winter, so the food stuff kind of is cold, it's not as smelly, but I've been going for trash twice a month. I'm skipping weeks.
It's great to hear.
Because, and obviously the cost of the bag, you know, the orange bag, makes one a little bit more thoughtful about it. But I'm not throwing garbage out every week.
Right, and you know, we could talk trash for days on the show, Mark, and I'd be happy to. The numbers are great. You know, when we were first looking at this, the Board of Selectmen asked us to come up with a matrix as far as what the benefits were to the residents of the town, as far as if we'd stay with just the transfer stations. There were a number of reasons why we did what we did, and all of them coming down to costs. Because, you know, we wanted to manage solid waste so that the residents got the best in service at the cheapest price. And it's worked. You know, our current tipping fee with CMAS is about $23 a ton. It's going to be going to $65 starting January 1, 2015, which is right around the corner. And we knew that if we didn't manage what the residents were throwing away, it was going to cost a small fortune for us to get rid of trash. Curbside is an advantageous program where, by the single stream, you immediately see reductions in tonnages. But what's interesting, we incorporated pay-as-you-throw with that. So what we've been doing is we've been analyzing numbers over the past couple of months. We have 6 months of pay-as-you-throw at the transfer stations, which I can tell you our tonnages have been cut by 40%. Our recycling has doubled. And it's the same thing on the curbside after 2 months, where it's so easy, we see a transition of people from the transfer stations to that of curbside, because I think that's what's happening. Those people that go to Manamet, the ones I talk to, it's very quiet. I mean, it is the winter time, but our tonnages there are less than half of what they were last year at the 1 transfer station versus the 3, with just as many people, you know, at the 1 transfer station. So it is working, and in terms of sustainability, we offer a fully automated curbside program, and the trucks are all on natural gas. And again, it has taken some time to establish the routes, but from everybody I talk to, people are happy.
Here's my closing comment on the solid waste program. Excellent implementation of a good plan.
Thank you.
And that's what this is. That's the nexus of this show. A plan that rolls out and works successfully relatively quickly. You're not tweaking it for 5 years.
And again, just so you and your audience knows, Mark, it wasn't just me.
I know.
It was a group effort from a number of people.
I know.
You know, I can't thank everybody that worked on it. You know, the manager, the finance director, my assistant Dennis Westgate. A number of people spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into it, and we are very happy with it. Okay,
my next comment, the final comment on it, it's an example of a lot of different people working together, different disciplines, to implement a good plan.
And that's the only way it was going to work, Mark.
But I get it.
It's the only way it was going to work, but I think people see the results today.
Absolutely. New subject. DPW and the 400th.
Yes, sir.
It seems that the 400th is driving quite a bit of activity
in
your department. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely, and we could talk about this one as well. We have a lot going on in terms of 400th and in terms of planning for 2020. I caught wind of that when I first got here back in 2011. In looking, we base everything we're doing really on that 2006 Public Space Action Plan. Some of the projects we have going on now are the sewer project on Water Street. We're taking the sewer interceptor, which is that length of sewer on the beach in front of Isaac's, and moving it into Water Street. What we're trying to do is get all the utilities ready so we can do a lot of aesthetic things up on the road surface.
Right.
So we're doing water work, the sewer project. We have a water main project where we're replacing 3 miles of outdated water main. We're doing drainage improvements along the downtown. The first big road reconstruction project is going to happen on Water Street. That is from the Rotary up north to Nelson Park. That's going to start in a couple of weeks. We have bid and awarded that project to PA Landers. We received a MassWorks grant of $1.5 million from the state last year. That project is going to start in a couple of weeks. We're going to rebuild the Rotary to what we call a roundabout. A lot of people ask what the difference is between a rotary and a roundabout. They're pretty much one and the same. They're both circles. The roundabout is more of an easier transition. Traffic calming, it allows for easier turning movements onto the road.
So it's going to go from the rotary to the rotary roundabout.
Exactly. But in a nutshell, it's aesthetics.
Yeah.
It's, we want it to look nice. We want people to stay downtown. We want people to continue passive recreation. It's going to be a complete street with bike lanes, 7-foot wide sidewalks, trees, decorative lights, park benches, a lot of elements that you don't see down there now. Cobblestones, brick walkways. People are going to want to stay in the waterfront, and that's what we want. We want it for economic development. In addition to that, we have our Burial Hill project that's moving forward. We have a group that's working on a redesign of Burial Hill to promote activity there, so people know that it's a place to visit, a place to see.
That's a private group, right?
That's a private group. We're working with the Friends,
Cheryl Caputo, the
Friends of Burial Hill, yep, and we have an
Hill,
internal working group on that.
Doing great work.
Signage, wayfinding. There's a lot going on, but again, we're trying to get ready to have a big group of people here for 2020 so that it's comfortable, and the town is, Public Works for that matter, is able to support that type of activity.
Now, while 2020 or the 400 is driving a large segment of what you're doing, I go back to your other piece, the ops and maintenance. The town still, the hinterland.
Yeah, we
still
can't let that stuff go. That's why it's hard.
The ops and maintenance still has to go on. And
correct.
What are you seeing in terms of short and long-term initiatives in that area?
In terms of operations, well, a big one is keeping the town clean. It's a big tourist town. There's a lot of activity during the summer. We want to keep our streets clean in terms of sweeping them. The brush cutting is important. So, just generally day-to-day operations, concentrating on certain areas of town. We don't want to let areas slide. I mean, Plymouth's a big town. I can't just let our guys, our men and women of the DPW concentrate on the downtown. We have to hit all areas. And again, it's a challenge. But we make sure we spread it out, and we make sure that we are effective of how we do it.
Plymouth incorporated the Healthy Communities initiative several years ago. And how is DPW working within that? I know that you had a chance to review the planning board's draft site plan review process, which tried to speak to that. Can you?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think it's important that people get out. I think it's important today with the kids, the youth of today, where they have the ability to get out on some of the streets and walk. They don't have to worry about traffic. So what we do with planning, Board of Selectmen, Jordan Hospital, we've really created this initiative where every street we have a chance, whether we're reconstructing or addressing specific maintenance issues, we try to provide that complete streets policy where we either widen the sidewalks, we construct sidewalks, we build in bike lanes, we do traffic calming measures. So every chance we have, we do that. Aubrey Street was one of our first. We created the Sharrows, which is a really combination bike traffic lane.
Mm-hmm.
Water Street will be another one, Commerce Way. So we are fully cognizant of what the needs are, and we want to be able to move people, and we want to be able to do that safely.
A previous guest, Malcolm McGregor, I had him on to talk about his Trails Initiative. Have you and he, I failed to ask him the direct question, but I'll ask it to you. Have you and he dovetailed, because obviously he wants to create a connectivity, the town wants to create a connectivity of trails, and it would be nice to say that you could walk in the woods from one point to another, but that doesn't happen, not in a town that's growing like Plymouth. There are times when those natural trails are going to intersect infrastructure corridors, sidewalks, roads, whatever. Has there been a dovetailing to try to see and match up where trails can be integrated into, when I say sidewalks, I don't mean a sidewalk on the side of the street, but like these wandering, what they have like at Pine Hills, where you have the sidewalk
recreational bike path.
yeah,
Correct.
wandering just off the streetscape, but proximal to it, but more like a trail as opposed to a hard urban sidewalk.
Yeah, I think communication is extremely important in this town. Given its complexities and its area, we have to do that. We have to talk. Bike paths, those recreational type trails, I do communicate. I know I have spoken to Lee on it a number of times, Leighton Price, Malcolm. We are aware of those areas. You know, Cottage Park Bike Trail, we're trying to extend that down to Brewster Gardens.
Right.
That's one of our main objectives for the downtown. You know, any of the subdivisions, some of the larger projects, 80 Makepeace, we're trying to incorporate complete streets and some of the traffic mitigation so that that whole motto falls throughout the town. So yeah, we do. I think, and I think we're doing a pretty good job at it, Mark.
Well, and you bring up a point. I know you, when you came on board, you know, I engaged you early on, and I've talked about this with other folks on the show and off the show. It's this whole piece of communication.
Right.
You can't have a fiefdom, planning can't have a fiefdom, the selectmen can't have a fiefdom. We are in a town of great complexity, a town that's moving forward at a time when, even though that movement has slowed due to the economy, we're still moving where other communities are not. And this whole deal about planning needing to know what DPW is doing, especially here, because, again, I accuse you of being a part-time planner, which you are. I mean, I think you wholly accept that piece. When you have a decision to make on infrastructure, it has implications, and the communication, and I think of the whole issue of the sewer line to South High School, the South High School site. I can defend every argument that a public works individual would make that it's got to go down Long Pond Road because that's the cheapest. However, there has been a great receptiveness on your part to make that an overland line just because we can't deal with the tie-ins.
And it was a feasibility issue, Mark.
That's right, exactly.
Absolutely, and that's one of my things I enjoy most about this town is the projects and the organization behind it. And that's why I think, you know, we started off the conversation as far as the DPW director position in this town. I think it's all about organization and communication and effective leadership. And I enjoy juggling the projects, if you would. I enjoy the conversations as far as why we do what we do. Because there has to be reasoning and there has to be open communications. Everything that we do has been looked at before. And if I can't pick up the phone and call somebody like yourself asking why this is what it is, I'm not going to be able to do the best job I can. Right. When you look at Plymouth South, the treatment plant versus, you know, the cross-country sewer, we fully analyzed that and looked at every potential way to bring sewer to Plymouth South. It all comes down to feasibility and economics, and some things just don't make sense.
Right.
But yeah, I think that, you know, using your resources and talking about things and having that dialogue are of such importance in this community. Absolutely.
We've touched on sewer, and we're getting to the end of this. I don't want to miss out on a discussion of water and wastewater, since they commingle.
They are so important. And those utilities in this community are extremely important. Absolutely.
Where do we stand? I mean, we've had the wastewater treatment plant is obviously due to tie-ins or lack thereof, had not, because the system is what it is. It needs a certain amount of water to function, or wastewater to function, and it wasn't getting that. How are we doing with that?
We're moving along.
I know we dropped the fee, the tie-in fee, which I think has helped.
So just a quick outline of the system. We have a 3 MGD, million-gallon-a-day treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant. Veolia Water has the contract operations for that plant. That's until 2021. Our collection system for sewer, as I mentioned, is about 60 miles. We have so many people contributing to that system. We need to expand that. We need to expand the users so we can better control our costs, because we have that contract ops with Veolia, and that's a cost. We have the cost of maintenance. Only so many people pay in. The only way to better control those costs is to expand the system and increase flows. So that's something we've been looking at. So what we did is we brought in a consultant. We looked at expanding the system. We went in front of the Board of Selectmen as far as prioritizing areas. Our board voted to extend sewer to Route 44 Industrial Park, Samoset Street, and West Plymouth. We're working on that now. We're working on that project now. We're trying to wrap up design. We're hoping to go to fall town meeting. The other project we're working on is Warren Ave. Is a sewer extension up to for Plymouth Plantation, and that's kind of another 2020 project. We know the plantation is in dire need of sewer, but that's going to the Springtown meeting in a couple of weeks for design only. In addition to those things, we're trying to work better with Veolia to maintain our collection system. The collection system in Plymouth is archaic as well. It lacks maintenance. A lot of it's undersized. It needs to be repaired. So we're trying to work cooperatively with Veolia to maintain those issues in the collection system itself. But again, sewer is an important element. A lot of people need sewer. You have a lot of development on the waterfront. We want to control nitrogen, so it doesn't get into the harbor, it doesn't get into these wetlands, and one way to do that is with sewer. But again, it has to be feasible.
Right, right. Well, you certainly have your plate full. You are a busy person.
But I enjoy that, Mark. I really do.
I know you do.
I like to stay
do,
busy. I have a very hard time sitting still.
Well, I think you're doing a great job, and I think Plymouth hired when they hired you, they hired a person with the right perspective for the directorship of our DPW in the town of Plymouth, which has, as we said at the outset, very unique public works issues, both ops and maintenance, and also expansion, planning, and the implications. And I thank you for taking this on, and it's been great working with you as a planning board member, and I thank you for being on today.
And thank you for having me, Mark.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Hopefully we'll have you again.
Happy to.
And thank you, the audience, for tuning in to another edition of What's the Plan. We had Jonathan Bader, or as he likes to be called, JB, our Director of Public Works, hopefully giving you a sense of the complexities and the way he's tackling the issues of public works, servicing the community, our infrastructure, our needs, and our future needs. Thanks, and hope to see you again.